Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we have a very special guest. Today we're going to witness how no other than the king will be influencing and persuading others. Okay, 3 weeks ago, King Charles was addressing US Congress. Okay, so he made a beautiful speech. So I just decided to watch it and with you together, share the most interesting moments from the speech and how he was influencing and persuading US politicians. The speech was masterfully written, okay, very eloquently and beautifully delivered. So I decided that actually will be a very great opportunity for us to take a look what type of tactics that they were using, in the speech, how he was influencing and persuading others, and maybe we can use some of them in our own persuasion attempt. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Gita, and this is Influence Lab, the place where we're reviewing different speeches of politicians, entrepreneurs, other celebrities, how they're influencing and persuading others using psychology. Without further ado, let's go right into the briefing. So the agent who will be persuading today is no other than King Charles III, the current king of the United Kingdom. And the target who he will be influencing and persuading are the US politicians, okay? So a little bit of a context. Okay, I just found this information on BBC News, what was actually happening, right? So for people who don't really understand, just like me, what was happening. The situation here is that the current state of US and UK relations is strained, a reflection of British reluctance to fully back the joint US-Israeli wars against Iran. So the king's goal has been to ease those tensions with a royal charm offensive, most notably with his joint address to Congress on Tuesday afternoon. Okay, so basically, we can derive from this information is that the mission of this persuasion attempt was to build relationship, right, to strengthen relationship and inspire action. Okay, so let's take a look actually if King Charles succeeded or not. So let me put my headphones on and let's get it started. Here, let's watch.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Majesty Charles III.
Okay.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of Congress, representatives of the American people across all states, territories, cities, and communities. I would like, if I may, to take this opportunity to express my particular gratitude to you all for the great honor of addressing this joint meeting of Congress, and on behalf of the Queen and myself, to thank the American people for welcoming us to the United States to mark this semi-quincentennial year of the Declaration of Independence. And for all of that time...
As you can see here, he starts this speech by building connection with the audience with a very simple thing, gratitude, right? So very important. Before you start persuading people, the first thing that you need to do, you need to build rapport. Make sure that people see you as their friend, okay, not really as the foe or the enemy. Because if people see you as their foe, then the persuasion not gonna happen, okay? And there are different ways how you can do that, okay? But the first thing and the easiest thing that you can do is just basically just to say, hey, I'm very grateful for being here today. Thank you, okay? So this is the first thing that you can do, like the easiest one to build likability. Okay, great start.
And for all of that time, our destinies as nations have been interlinked. As Oscar Wilde said, we have really everything in common with America nowadays, except, of course, language.
As you can see here, the next part of a speech is that he uses here humor. Look, humor is basically another thing what you can do to build likability, right? So look, humor overall doesn't really persuade. However, what it does is that it increases likability of the speaker and people are more willing to pay attention. So as you can see here, it's another thing that he had done before actually, lending the speech, right? Before persuading people, right? So first of all, he has had gratitude, so build connection with the audience. The next thing that he did is that he used humor. Humor obviously is a double-edged sword, okay? So when you're using humor, you need to be careful because, well, it's like Very simple. Is that it can be a good joke or it can be a bad joke. And if it's a good joke, it's great, it works, it really increases likability. If it's a bad joke, then, basically just sounds kind of cringe, right? So, but here, well, it worked really, really well. So, yeah, it's a, high stakes move. I love that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we meet in times of great uncertainty.
See how, like he said, hey, he started on the great note, right? So he started with, hey, I'm very thankful to be here. Here's actually the joke, right? So strategically put the joke at the beginning, and right, so to increase likability. And then after that is like, when the mood is great, positive, is like, hey, you know what? It's actually been a bit, it's a big uncertainty right now. Now the real speech starts.
Whatever our differences, whatever disagreements we may have, we stand united in our commitment to uphold democracy, to protect all our people from harm, and to salute the courage of those who daily risk their lives in the service of our countries.
Okay, great. So what he does here is that he uses the principle of unity. Okay, so one of the things what you can do in order to increase likability and trustworthiness, that you trust this person, right, is that the first thing that you can do is that you can find something in common, that you have together. And the next thing is the principle of unity, is that you can find something that you have, that you are the one, like the same. And here, the King Charles, or, whoever was writing speech for the king, is that they found this principle, that they are united, they are the one, and they are the one because they fight for the same values, which is democracy in this case. And the reason for that is because his mission, right? So his mission is to build relationship and inspire action.
Indeed, the very principle on which your Congress was founded, no taxation without representation, was at once a fundamental disagreement between us, and at the same time a shared democratic value which you inherited from us. Ours is a partnership born out of dispute, but no less strong for it. So perhaps in this example, we can discern that our nations are in fact instinctively like-minded, a product of the common democratic, legal, and social traditions in which our governance is rooted to this day.
So see, again here, as you can see here, he says this word is like, we are like-minded. So also he uses the principle of similarity now. Right. Yeah. As you can see here during the speech, he's using all of the different ways, different appeals in order to build this relationship, with the audience. Right. Is that to show that, hey, we need to work together, basically.
Drawing on these values and traditions, time and again, our two countries have always found ways to come together. And by Jove, Mr. Speaker, when we have found that way to agree, what great change is brought about, not just for the benefit of our peoples, but of all peoples. This, I believe, is the special ingredient in our relationship. As President Trump himself observed during his state visit to Britain last autumn, the bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It is irreplaceable and unbreakable.
See, so he makes a conclusion, right? And a very, very, right, so he shows all of these things, right? Makes all of this, hey, we're united, we are the same, here's a little bit of humor, here how it builds a relationship. And then now here he makes a very, very strong conclusion, right, out of all of that. So, yeah, so it just sounds, incredibly, incredibly powerful. Isn't that guy, like, is this Nancy Pelosi? Is this the one who was like, investing like a lot of money into stocks and just made, a lot of money out of it, and people were wondering how she did that? I think it is. There is a suspicion that she might be doing what is called insider trading. Ooh. Don't tell anyone. Well, I don't know if it's true. Okay, I just heard of that.
The first president, George Washington, and my 5 times great-grandfather, King George III. King George, as you know, never set foot in America, and please rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, I am not here as part of some cunning rearguard action.
Again, right? Another humor to build likability.
The founding fathers were bold and imaginative rebels with a cause. 200...
Makes the compliment not really towards the audience, right, but to something history, the history part, right, of the America. Yeah, that's actually another very, very interesting way how you can do that in order to increase likability, build connection with the audience, is by giving the compliment. And you don't even have to give the compliment to the, in this case, right, he doesn't really give the compliment to these specific people, but something of the history of this country that matters to these people who are in the audience. And it also works really, really well.
Our Declaration of Rights of 1689 was not only the foundation of our constitutional monarchy, but also provided the source of so many of the principles reiterated, often verbatim, in the American Bill of Rights of 1791. And those roots go even further back in history. The US Supreme Court Historical Society has calculated that Magna Carta is cited in at least 160 Supreme Court cases since 1789.
So as you can see here again, he uses the same principle of unity, showing that they are the same, right? Is that he shows, hey, this is not only like inspirational now talk, but also historical talk. He says, hey, we have the same history, the same laws. And right now, actually, he will continue. Let's watch, because now he will be also talking about the same values and the same religion. Okay, so let me show it to you.
Not least as the foundation of the principle that executive power is subject to checks and balances. This is the reason why there stands a stone by the River Thames at Runnymede, where Magna Carta was signed in the year 1215. This stone records that an acre of that ancient and historic site was given to the United States of America by the people of the United Kingdom to symbolize our shared resolve in support of liberty and in memory of President John F. Kennedy.
See, again, liberty and John F. Kennedy, right? But liberty is the common value that we have. Again, principle of unity.
Many here, and for myself, the Christian faith is a firm anchor and daily inspiration.
See?
That guides us, not only personally.
Again, the same thing, right? We are the same, and what is the same is religion. So, well, we can actually see here, it's actually really, really interesting how it's incredibly well done, is that they're building, they're using different principles to build relationship. Like, here's a little bit of, here's a humor, here's a gratitude. Here's a similarity, we're the same. Here's a unity principle, we are the one. Then there's a compliment to something, some historical stuff. There's another humor, right? And, they're building relationship, right? Like, if you're watching it, right, is that you really will have feeling like, wow, he's such a nice guy, But it's really like, how they strategically put all of the different psychological triggers to build it. It's not they're just, hitting in the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, They're using a different tools. So if you really have a question about like, oh, how do I build connection with my audience? How do I make sure that my audience likes me? Either it's a public speech or, you're just really just, persuading people in real life, maybe one-on-one, or maybe it's a video on YouTube or whatever, it's really the masterclass how you can build really because they're, basically he's using different tactics to build relationship almost for the entire speech. So this is really, really, really a course material. Love that.
It is why, it is my hope, my prayer, that in these turbulent times, working together and with our international partners, we can stem the beating of plowshares into swords.
See, now he also makes another conclusion of another part of his speech, basically, is that, again, the same thing, right? Is that, hey, we are united, we're the same, we are, we have a very, very strong bond. So the conclusion is that we need to keep fighting together, right?
Renewal today starts with security. The United Kingdom recognizes that the threats we face demand a transformation in British defence. That is why our country, in order to be fit for the future, has committed to the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War.
So as you can see here, right, look, it's 20th minute of the speech, right? Overall, the video is 34 minutes. So I think it's been like almost half of the speech. He was basically building relationship heavily. And now he actually transitions again to something, specific. Now we can hear the conclusion. Okay, so here we're increasing our defenses, right?
During part of which, over 50 years ago, I served with immense pride in the Royal Navy, following in the naval footsteps of my father. This year, of course, also marks the 25th anniversary of 9/11. This atrocity was a defining moment for America, and your pain and shock were felt around the whole world.
Okay, here's the principle of empathy, right? Another principle of what you can do in order to, again, build likability, right? So you're being empathetic and really, saying, oh, here's something bad happened. We're so sorry, right? We hear you. We understand you. Because of that, you're building empathy, again, also increasing likability.
During my visit to New York, my wife and I will again pay our respects to the victims, the families, and the bravery shown in the face of terrible loss. We stood with you then, and we stand with you now.
This is the principle of consistency. Okay, is that, right, so he shares, hey, we were staying with you before, we also will stand with you now. So, right, is that, people are more likely to be influenced by someone who is consistent, not really changing his mind. So he just shows that you can trust us, basically.
Immediate aftermath of 9/11, when NATO invoked Article 5 for the first time, and the United Nations Security Council was united in the face of terror, we answered the call together, as our people have done so for more than a century, shoulder to shoulder, through 2 world wars, the Cold War, Afghanistan, and moments that have defined our shared security. Today, Mr. Speaker, that same unyielding resolve is needed for the defense of Ukraine and her most courageous people.
Here, what we see here is actually a principle of consistency. So, the psychological principle here is that people love to be consistent, okay, with their thoughts and with their actions. And basically what he shows here, what he says is that we were fighting before, we were fighting in one war, in another one, in another one, in another one, in another one, and here's another one, and we need your help as well, right? Is that, hey, you helped us before, you need also to help us now, right? Because I think that, the reason for that, right, if we just go a little bit of a context that America stopped supporting Ukraine in terms of, weapons and money, I think they still give us like some sort of an intel, right? But besides the point. So here he shows actually is that, hey, we were fighting some wars together and we will be fighting also them together and we need your help now, right? So this is a principle of consistency. Like some politicians in America do not really support war in Ukraine anymore. They don't really want to spend money on that and all of that stuff. However, some parts of the politician there support Ukraine, right? And what happens here, I think that, the camera actually, shows the people who are supporting and who, right? So the idea here is that to show social proof is that not only to the king supports that, but also other people in the parliament or in the Congress, right? So maybe not really 100% support that, but maybe there are like, 40% of people who support and 60 who doesn't. And if we just show that there's, that like these 40% also clapping and supporting what he's saying, right, is that basically for people, especially who will be watching this in the media, through the media, like, oh, wow, yeah, actually American congressman, congresswoman support that. So he must be right.
It is needed in order to secure a truly just and lasting peace.
I like the words here, the word choice is that it is needed to secure the just peace, right? So the word just.
Our common ideals were not only crucial for liberty and equality, they are also the foundation of our shared prosperity.
Shows now here the common value. Okay, is that these people, both Britain and America, they have the, point that they have in common is economic growth, right, and prosperity. And then he shows that, he knows that, hey, we need to be together, fight together. Why? Because, hey, here's your value. This is basically what you will get if you will be with us.
The rule of law, the certainty of stable and accessible rules, an independent judiciary resolving disputes and delivering impartial justice. These features created the conditions for centuries of unmatched economic growth in our two countries. This is why our governments are concluding new economic and technology agreements to write the next chapter of our joint prosperity and ensure that British and American ingenuity continues to lead the world.
Great, right? So, again, I just want to go a little bit back to show actually how this speech is, progressing. Is that first of all, he was building relationship with the audience, right? Then after that, he made a small transition, right? Then showed something, that is like negative that is happening that needs to be done. And there's like something positive that needs to be done, right? So first of all, he established relationship. After he established relationship, he just talked about things that, we can do together. And also it all based on some common values. Is that something that's valuable for the people that he's trying to persuade is that, hey, you want economic growth. Let's keep working together, right? Let's keep working together and we will be very, very wealthy.
More broadly, we celebrate the $430 billion in annual trade that continues to grow, the $1.7 trillion in mutual investment that fuels that innovation, and the millions of jobs on both sides of the Atlantic supported across both economies. These are strong foundations on which to continue to build for generations yet unborn.
So the same thing, right? Common value, right? And also like he links it to people for the future.
Our ties in education, research, and cultural exchange empower citizens and future leaders of both countries.
So as you can see here, I just want to point out is that he basically structures this speech in a way that, right, is that, hey, we need to work together, to keep working together, and he shows different values. Like the first value that he says is that, hey, economic growth. Economic growth. The second thing is like, hey, great. Well, there's another, benefit of keep working together is education. There was another one, before that is also like health, right? And so on and so forth. So he basically says, hey, we need to keep working together, not because of one reason, not only because of the, economic side, but also because of the, economic growth, because of the education, because of the health, right? So all of these different reasons why they need to keep, working together and, be together. Again, it's all aligned with his big goal of this persuasion attempt is like to build relationship and inspire action. Inspire action towards, like, he shows the victories, but also he shows like, hey, here are other things that we need to do together as well, right? Is that by highlighting these victories, another thing that he shows also, will like make sense. Oh yeah, we need to do the same, this thing as well. He's right.
The Marshall Scholarship, named after the great General George Marshall, and the association of which I am so proud to be patron, are emblematic of the 50 years. We must also reflect on our shared responsibility to safeguard nature.
See, that's what I was talking about, right? He's showing, hey, we've been doing this and this really works really well. We've been doing this and this really works really well, right? We're giving this value, educational, economic, health, whatever. And now, hey, here's another thing now we need to work on. We need to work on problem of nature.
Yet, even as we celebrate the beauty that surrounds us, our generation must decide how to address the collapse of critical natural systems, which threatens far more than the harmony and essential diversity of nature. We ignore at our peril the fact that these natural systems, in other words, nature's own economy, provide the foundation for our prosperity and our national security.
Boom. He actually links it really, really well with, see, like, hey, here's the nature. Well, why do we have to care about nature? Why do we have to care about nature? Well, here's a common value that is valuable for people, is that this is our prosperity and national security, right? Is that we need, like, he links something, that is nature, to something that people care about, to, the people's values. Because the idea of persuasion, okay, is to deliver information in a way that the audience who's being persuaded would think about it. Oh yeah, we need to do that. That's a good idea. It's like people need to think that this is, their thought, that they need to do that. And that's why during persuasion, you need to connect something that you want to the value of the audience. And that's actually he does here, right? Is that we can actually see how he, how it's specifically written this way.
That the world may little note what we say, but will never forget what we do. And so to the United States of America, on your 250th birthday, let our two countries rededicate ourselves to each other in the selfless service of our peoples and of all the peoples of the world. God bless the United States, and God bless the United Kingdom.
So now here, this is the call to action, right? Very, very motivational call to action at the end. So yeah, very, very beautiful speech. And another thing that I really, really liked is that if we listen how he speaks, let's listen to it, okay? Very, very quickly.
Renewal today starts with security.
Right? His voice, right? Very, very deep, and also a very, very, it's very, very easy to understand what he's saying. And I mean, he's not really a young man, right? So, so there's definitely some voice practice. He had maybe some voice coaches that work with him. But I just want to say that, when you're saying something, it's not only what you say and how you say it. And I just want to say, how clearly everything sounds, how deep his voice is. And this is really, really, really great. Really, really well done. Okay, so I really love that. Yeah, it was a great speech. Definitely there are lots of things that we can learn from him. Lots of things that we can learn from speech writers, especially about how to build, connection with the audience. So yeah, this is it for today. Okay, let me know what you think. Okay, if you like it or not. And my name is Nikita. It was Influence Lab, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.